It's time to put your costume on and listen to the long con.
What's up, Internet? This is your boy coming at you live with Pro Genji Strats.
We have all of the top new ways of using your ult and using your ult again.
You want to get play of the game every time. Just follow along and I'll show you what to do. Just follow your boy here. I'm with my fam. We got Elite Gamer 69XXX. Say your name.
Which one of
I'm
us is
Wolfgar! Well, fuck you!
Because I'm Dark Edge Necro Angel Mancer 64 and I'm a Reaper.
Your death makes me stronger.
Good. Now that we don't have any more viewers.
And this
We
is
don't
good.
have any more Genji or Reaper viewers, but who needs them? That's what I say.
Well, they have trouble working a regular telephone, let alone.
This is
So
Faire.
No, you're Kevin.
No, not me. It's Sonya.
Oh,
So,
alright.
whatever. Yeah, so this is the Long Con Podcast. We're at episode 41 this month. We're going to talk conventions, cosplay, and other factors of geek culture. Facets. That's the word. Including Overwatch, but we won't be that guy.
Well,
We already are that guy.
We are
At
that
some
guy?
point, we are going to be that guy.
Yeah, we are already.
No, we have no pro strats to anything.
Yeah,
we don't
have
even have pro strats to talking conventions, cosplay, and facets.
I have
of geek
pro
culture.
strats for
Yeah.
Overwatch.
Let's get on the
Kill
goddamn point.
the enemies, win the match, and then get it.
Score
your
the
team to
points.
vote for you. Yeah, and then you get loot boxes.
Yeah, and then you get 3 gray items and a blue item.
What do you
They're
guys
all
think about the
grays.
summer skins packs?
I don't know. Maybe if I get one, I'll let you know.
You haven't gotten one yet?
I think I got one, and that was like the first box that they give
Didn't
you
you
as
get?
like a...
Didn't you get the USA McCree skin?
No,
I
I
didn't.
want that one.
That was me. I got that one.
Oh, you got it.
I
Okay.
want that
That's like the only one I really care about, and even then I'm like,
one.
eh.
USA.
If I could play worth a damn at McCree at all, but I can't because I suck.
You just got
With
practice.
I feel like I think it's because I'm less precise with the way I play because I use my controller.
Yeah, controller. So we use the keyboard and mouse.
Yeah, but the problem with my mouse is that it is connected to my Wacom tablet.
Yeah, that's a weird way to do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You're kind of stuck. But yeah, I'm imagining that you could get pretty good with McCree still. You just gotta get used to it and adjust your sensitivity. Anyway.
Adjust sensitivity.
Yes.
I hadn't even considered that. I
You
wonder
gotta
if I
be
can.
more. You gotta be more sensitive. Make sure you get lots of trigger warnings.
Our music is acoustic alternative. We marvel at fireflies.
Okay.
Let the show die. Jesus.
Yay.
Dale understood that reference.
So, yeah, we like Overwatch. We've been playing that a lot. That's kind of our game of choice now. It's been a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to the new characters they're going to be coming out with. And we'll get to that later. But first of all, Dale and I went to the Bristol Renaissance Fair recently.
Mm-hmm.
I would have very much liked to go to that, but because I'm cool, I traded a weekend day that I didn't remember was that.
You were sucked into the dark pits that were work.
I did get a pretty nice paycheck though, so I can't complain too much.
That's good. We spent some money to get there.
Mm.
Yeah, we had some fun. I took a little bit of video. I unfortunately left my GoPro in the car, and I didn't feel like going back out and walking all that way just to grab
You
my
didn't want
GoPro.
to go
and
for
come
the
back.
GoPro.
Correct. So I just used my iPhone, but the iPhone is notorious for having 0 battery life, so I didn't get as much footage as I wanted, but I did get some. So if you guys have nothing to add beforehand, I'm just going to start playing that video.
Yeah, I would like to see the video.
Yeah, roll that beautiful bean footage.
Beans.
So one of the problems that sometimes will happen with the Ren Fair is the weather. So it'll be super hot or humid. How was the weather for you guys?
It was actually really good. There was one point where it started out in the morning. It was kind of rainy, and then we actually got there, and it was perfectly fine. Share your screen. Where is my thing? Okay, well, it's disconcerting.
Marvel as they try to navigate the choppy waters.
Right.
Go amazingly well.
All right. Let's try this.
Where things are expensive and
There it goes.
everyone is sweaty.
There's Dale. Can you see that?
Yeah, there he is.
All right. So as you can see, it's like kind of overcast, but it's like really even lighting. There's Darren and Julia. They showed up. We actually had more people show up this year than previous years. So, including those two, I can't remember their names offhand, but and then those folks.
So you had quite the assortment.
Yeah, we had a bunch of people show up, so I was stoked about that because it's just kind of Dill and I have been going in our Dragon Age stuff every year for the past 4 years. Dale.
Yeah, I was gonna say 4 years. Sounds right.
So yeah, it's been growing each year, so that's been cool because it's just kind of a fun thing we've been doing, and it's like we're gonna be going here regardless. So if friends want to show up, neat.
Mm-hmm.
So and far more people showed up in costume this year than expected. Usually it's like here's some people that are not in costume, and they're from the group.
Yeah, it looks like he had a pretty good turnout.
And then this guy just showed up and started like riffing off an entire song. I googled some of the lyrics and I couldn't find reference to it, so I don't know if it was his own song or not.
Well, he did say it was his own song.
Oh, he did? Oh, it was
Yeah.
actually really good then.
Kevin just didn't believe him.
Right.
Yeah, it was.
I understand.
It's basically about like nerd taste and nerd culture becoming a thing, and being cool, as opposed to like what it was back in like the 80s and even the early 90s, where it was like not cool to be a nerd. And,
Now, I hope it was the actual 80s based on his garb, and not the 1980s, because that would be out of character.
True. But yeah, it's like he was singing about like video games being the cool thing, and then the highest grossing movies now are like superhero movies and like Transformers and all the cool stuff that we like, as opposed to like here's a sports ball movie.
Sportsman!
Yes. And then it's me fixing up Dale's scar because I don't know what it is about your face, Dale, but it rejects rigid collodion like it's.
It rejects everything.
It does.
Like, it rejects the penises on my shirt, so...
Well, without context, we're just going to let that one sink in.
That's true. But yeah, you have like Gus-like caustic sweat.
Why didn't you just punch him?
Eats away at everything. That's how often do people suggest that, Dale? I feel like
hitting me? Like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
in
it's like
general?
you could just smack him and then that'll work.
I think people suggest or threaten to hit me all the time.
You could be a waiter.
Yeah. I don't even need to use my hands.
Just come out there. Oh, your drinks are up here on my head. You have to stand up and get them, because
Yeah.
if I lean over, they're falling.
So that was the short Ren Fair video I made. I wish I could have had more footage, especially with more of the people who showed up, because I wanted to, but I just ran out of battery, and that was
Yeah,
a
the
problem.
iPhone dies in 3 seconds.
Yeah, so I felt bad about that, considering like the one we had last year was actually pretty good. We had some decent interaction, and I feel like it better documented the fun we had.
Was I at that one?
You were not at last year's. You were in 2014 when you showed up in your Doctor Who stuff.
That's right.
So, yeah, what did you think compared to previous Ren-a-Fair years, Dale?
Run a fair.
Ren-a-Fair years, yes.
It was fun. We didn't... I mean, basically, we only really saw Vegetable Justice and the Joust to the Death.
But Vegetable
as far as
Justice is
shows,
the best.
Yeah, it's like a free comedy shtick.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when nobody's showing up, he will look at people in the crowd, and you're like, uh-oh, he's going to make fun of me, and then everybody's going to laugh.
Yeah, but
then
you
I'm
had
gonna-
a sword, so I think you were fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I actually got to bring a real sword to the Ren Fair, so that was a cool thing, as opposed to the prop swords that we are accustomed to, or prop weapons. So yeah, just had to like peace tie it, and then I could walk around with an actual sword. Because Grey Warden Alistair actually has a fitting on his belt called a frog. It's like a leather thing that you put your scabbard through. And it held it in place.
Frogs don't have leather.
Yeah, well, I want to make a frog leather cloak,
Okay.
and then we'll talk. It's gonna tan their hide, and then get one like this big.
Yeah.
You would need a billion frogs.
I could sing a song about it, and they'll make a Disney movie out of it.
That would be a horrific Disney movie.
It would be, but at least it's not puppies, because people like puppies.
They
What a
didn't.
monster!
Cruella didn't succeed in that movie. This movie sounds like you're at the part where the frogs are being skinned.
Oh.
Pretty much.
Moving on. No, and then every year we go to Culver's and get some frozen custard and possibly burgers.
I ate there last night.
They got decent food, depending on the one you go to. Sometimes you'll get one that's like an off store.
This one was
not that good, but the one in Pleasant Prairie is pretty good. Which is amplified by the fact that we are pretty much starving by the end of the day in costume. So, and it's just so expensive to do anything at the Ren Fair nowadays. So we used to get turkey legs every year, and it's just become kind of a gimmick. Like that's what you do there, but it's what, like $8 or $9 for a turkey leg now.
Something like that. I don't know.
I remember like the first year I went, it was $3 or $4. So yeah, it's gotten too ridiculous, and they stopped doing the buy one get one after a certain point.
Yeah.
Because I think after the joust, they used to do a buy one get one free. So like, grab a turkey leg on your way out, because everybody's pretty much leaving after the joust to the death, because that ends at what, 6, and the Ren Fair pretty much closes at 7.
Yep.
So, but yeah, all in all, we had really favorable weather. There was a nice cool breeze blowing through most of the day, which is a godsend if you're in costume and have to be outside. But yeah, if you're looking to join us, we have we've kind of decided to just start doing it on they run a fantasy weekend every year, so we're probably just gonna figure out whatever weekend that is, and then that'll be the weekend we go. So if you're curious and interested for future reference, even if we haven't announced it, just look for whatever fantasy weekend they announce every year, and we'll probably be there on that Saturday. But we'll talk about it on this podcast every year we go. So you should probably join us next year, Nick, because it's fun.
Yeah, I wanted to go this time. I just didn't remember when it was when I swapped.
Anything more on that, Dale?
Nope. I think we covered that fairly well.
All right. Did we want to get to the meat of the podcast, which was Gen Con?
Sure.
Is there
Okay.
actual meat?
Yeah, we had lots of meat there, actually.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about Gen Con, even though I'm also sad that I didn't go to this one.
Yeah, I know you wanted to go, and we wanted you to go, and then you got sucked into the void that was work. And I think you said the only way you could have gone would have been by screwing over one of the people you actually like at your job, which has become a few and far between.
Yeah,
thing.
if I wanted to go, I would have had to call off, and I'm not generally the kind of person who will call off if I'm not actually sick.
So I also took video for that, and thankfully had a GoPro each day we were there. Did I not? I don't think I brought it Sunday. I think I had my iPhone Sunday, or did? I'm not sure.
Hey, you got me.
I was looking for backup from Dale there.
I'm waiting for you to roll the footage.
The footage?
The footage.
I'm gonna roll that beautiful blind footage.
Beautiful blind footage.
Yeah, my beautiful blind footage. Alright, share. Wait. No. Stop.
What? No, what?
Stop.
We can see it. We can see it.
There.
There what?
I was putting it on on me. All right, I'm gonna restart this actually, because yeah.
We
okay.
lost those 12 seconds of us.
Yeah,
saying
of us
goodbye.
talking.
Everyone's gonna be terrified.
Right.
Good thing you
so
started over.
Yeah.
this was my first Gen Con, and Dale, the last time you were at Gen Con was like 10 years ago, I think you said.
Yeah, a long ass time ago.
So, yeah, we didn't know what to expect. You said it was typically a con of swag. Do you think it held up to that this year compared to?
Nope.
Okay, not at all.
Nope, not at all. There was
Okay,
no
well,
swag to be had.
I have no basis of comparison because I've never been before, so.
Yeah. No. Before it was a lot more free stuff and everything. People were giving away a ton of free crap, but I didn't see Wizards of the Coast there at all.
Yeah, that was a real disappointment for me.
Maybe they were somewhere else in the con, but
they would have had a much bigger presence, I would have imagined.
Yeah, that's what I don't even know who they are.
So, they did have like Pathfinder stuff at the Paizo booth. But you know, what can you do? So I mean, there's a lot of stuff to see. The biggest thing at this con is the tabletop presence. It's not like a normal con we go to where you have like a lot of convention guests or there's a lot of cosplay. I mean, there were both, but it was mostly just like people playing games, which was cool to see for me because I haven't really seen that at cons before. You'll get like the game room where there's a bunch of people sequestered, and it's like this is where the people go to play tabletop games, and that was literally like they had that, but it was an enormous room that I'll show later. And then in the exhibitor hall, it was like, here are some new games that you might enjoy.
I like that guy's Evil Dead T-shirt.
Yeah, reading is fun. So we didn't get a chance to play the Dark Souls game. And Dale, you said that it contained spoilers for me, so I should not watch.
They were actually fighting one of the bosses in
Yeah,
Dark Souls.
so over the past couple months, I had started playing the Dark Souls series, so.
And he's still on 2.
No, I'm still on 1. Do you want to talk about Kingdom Death, Dale?
So, Kingdom Death, it's something I've been kind of following for a little while, but not too closely. It's basically a settlement-type dark world that you live in where monsters roam. Basically, your settlement needs to go out and kill these monsters in order to procure items to help build your settlement better.
That sounds pretty cool.
It is. Mostly it's better armor and weapons and stuff. I think there's also like potions and stuff you can make. Like for instance, my character had like the grease or something from something that made me +1 for each.
Oh yeah, the thing we were laughing about, the monster grease or whatever.
Right. So it's 4 settlements four settlers go out to fight monsters. So for this one here, it's the basic monsters, this huge motherfucking lion and everything. And basically it killed Bly by braining him in the head.
Yep. I had a brain hemorrhage and died in my brain. There I go.
Yep. So that threw all of us kind of into like a blood rage or whatever.
I was gonna be chief. I was destined.
So I ran up and just from behind I slaughtered the lion. And
yeah, young Skeletor wins.
Yes, my guy was wearing a skull hat
and a loincloth. That was like his only thing. So we had imagined like that was the origin story for Skeletor.
And then they elected me the chieftain of the tribe or whatever. So I was like, yeah, it's a fun game and everything, been following it. So I went up to ask him, like, so how much, so what do I need to get the base game? And he's like, oh, well, we sold out of it in the first 2 hours of the con opening. So you can follow us on our website and we can get you some or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And he's like, yeah, it's about $400 for the starter set and everything. and then there's, expansion. So, like, I looked on the site and it's like $1,200 if you want the whole kit and caboodle. But it is really nice stuff. Like, for instance,
you said all the armor upgrades are there. Like they have little, they have little like model pieces. So you, like, if you get a breastplate, in the game,
Stop
you can
stop the movie.
Why?
Because we're on this part now.
Oh, so if you get an armor piece in the game, you can
Swap it out
basically
on your
put it on your character model, which is it's a cool thing, but I don't know, at a certain point it just seems like expensive gimmicks.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, well, especially at that price.
yeah. So I don't know. It was okay. I didn't really get like enough of an experience to fully enjoy it because I was kind of a corpse within the first couple of minutes.
We only got to experience 1/3 of the game's systems because that's the final battle. You have the settlement part where you're building stuff, and then you also have the hunt where you're tracking the creature down.
Mm-hmm.
So I really wish they would have done it as a longer thing where you got to find out what all 3 of those were, and I think you would have had more people, but they already sold out of the starting set, so they're just going to be like, whatever, people are buying it. So then I played the whaling game, because we're whalers on a moon, and we carry a harpoon.
That's true. You did make that joke. And then how did you begin, Dale?
I decided I wanted to build a restaurant instead of going to be a fisherman. Because
I believe they call those whalers if you're hunting whales.
Shut up. So there's little meeples that you play with, and I built a little table out of the wood they gave me, and then you get cookies for food. So I just put the cookies on the food, and my little meeples sat around the table. So I turned to the thing and like, what if I don't want to go whaling? If I just want to build a restaurant? And she looked at the little prop things I had designed, and she started laughing. I didn't get enough bricks to surround them though, so they're outside eating.
Yeah, well, they have outdoor eating areas.
Yep. So the goal in this game is to just get a shit ton of whales, turn them into oil for points, basically.
Did you want me to stop again?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're almost done with it, but I mean, the one other, and it's a short, fast game from what it saw, so it's fun. The other thing is, she hated us because we kept making them laugh at the table. I asked her what's the biggest whale in the game, and she looked at me and she's like, sperm. Then she giggled and we all giggled. And we were all 5-year-olds for a little while. Okay, that was I finished with that.
Okay. And then they had this crazy card kingdom.
Yes, which they do for charity. People get to, it's free for people to build stuff, but then they auction off your ability to smash all the buildings.
Oh yeah, I saw their official video, and it was just like kids screaming and tackling buildings, and it was something out of a horror movie.
Oh yeah.
Get someone cosplaying Godzilla to do it.
Oh, that would have been great. So we were on our way at this point to meet up with some friends in the... What was the other hall called, Dale?
I just called it the gaming hall.
Yeah, so this is just like literally tables set up throughout the entire like enormous room, and it's just people playing games. So it was like the tabletop gaming room at a normal convention times like 300 or something. It was gigantic.
Oh yeah.
So we didn't actually get to play the Bloodborne game at the
demo.
I'm trying to remember the demo people's name. Cool something. It was the Come On booth.
Cool ink or cool stuff, whatever. It's whatever.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But anyway, we didn't get to demo it officially. But our friend Justin, did Justin buy it or did Sean buy it?
Justin bought it.
Okay, our friend Justin on the left there picked up the game, and then we kind of sat around for a couple hours and just played that. It was a lot of fun.
It was. Bly won once, I won once. Sean kept trying to kill us all.
And then we saw, on our way back, we saw horse-drawn carriages.
Really?
Oh my god.
Yeah,
which was bullshit. We should not have seen those. It was after midnight.
They should have been pumpkins by then.
Yep.
And then,
I remember one time I was in Milwaukee, I left a concert and I got kind of lost, so I was going through these back alleys and I was coming through one, and then a horse and buggy went across in front of the alley, and I was just like, when am I?
So Dale and I are cosplaying. This is Saturday, and those are chocolate-covered banana narwhals.
Banana narwhals.
They were banana narwhals, so they were banana
like that.
narwhals.
Banana.
And they had ice cream cones for horns.
True. So this day we really didn't play that many games. I played something called Blood Rage. It's okay.
Which I did get some video of.
Okay.
We're currently talking about Captain Sonar, which
Oh yes.
I didn't think it was going to be as... I thought it was going to be a lot more aggravating than it was, but I actually had a lot of fun with that game once we got into kind of a rhythm, and it's a game
But
about communication more than anything.
It's also
I think.
because you didn't play you played the most difficult class, but you actually did good at it.
Well, yeah, like I said, when we started, it was kind of hard, but we just started communicating, and well, we can talk about that later. But
Yeah.
how was Blood Rage? Because at this point, I kind of wandered around because my legs were getting sore, so I needed to walk.
Gotcha. So you basically get a certain amount of rage, and
I'm actually going to pause it here because
So you get rage, which is like your fuel or whatever the fuck you want to call it, and you get to spend it by buying monsters, people, moving them, using actions or whatever. And basically, you have these cards. Some have missions on them, some have upgrades for your people, and basically around the border of the thing is like honor, and you just want to get the highest honor by the end of the game. So you do that by either killing people, taking territories, assaulting the center. Just a lot of fighting, kind of a thing. It's a fairly cool system. And you go through 3 ages, so you refill basically your blood, your fuel, your rage twice. But overall, it felt a bit like a little bit like Risk, but not completely, kind of a thing.
Did you at least have fun playing it?
Yeah. Overall, it was fun. It's one of those games where I wouldn't buy, but I would play if we got a group and we're like, oh, let's go play.
Okay. How long did they say how long an average game takes? Because I'm assuming you didn't play a regular game.
If you know the rules and you know everyone knows what they're doing, I would assume an hour or less, kind of a thing.
Okay.
For a whole game. I mean, this was half hour, but we're learning the game mostly, and we only went through one age. So, but yeah. So overall fun. Mystical monsters. There's like 5 or 6 of them or whatever. So overall, not bad.
Yep. And then we ran into our buddy Robert.
Yep.
And his son Robert.
And then a wedding broke out.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that area in a second.
Okay.
But yeah,
and then
we were.
The news found us.
Yeah, right. Again,
I saw that.
we'll get to that in a second. It actually wasn't like terrible outside when you were in the shade because there was a breeze going, but it was pretty hot out.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had to walk several blocks later in the day, and we were dead on our way back. It was just awful. But yeah, in the shade when you're just kind of standing there. So yeah, that lengthy Hummer there is because a wedding was going on, and we were taking pictures by that door there because it was kind of a cool door. I'm actually going to pause it here. Yeah, so the door was there, and then at one point, like 2 people came out of that door, and I think we kind of scared them because we were all in like armor and weird costumes.
I don't know if scared was the right word. I think more disgust was.
Perhaps they were like, when am I?
Yeah, basically.
Oh god, the
then,
insane asylum has released the inmates.
Right, and then in like the main, can you guys see my cursor?
Yeah,
I can.
Okay. Out of this like main door, there was just like an outpouring of people, and then we're like, oh no, it's a wedding.
Mm-hmm. And then they started throwing volleyballs to each other.
So you basically crashed the wedding.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. Yeah, we crashed a wedding.
They crashed
they
a
crashed
photo
our
shoot.
shoot.
We were here.
Gotcha.
And then we had news people show up. Like we were standing there, and like Robert was off to the side over here, and they're taking pictures by the door. And I just kind of out of the corner of my eye, I think it's right here actually. This red van.
Yes.
The red truck.
Yep.
Yeah, it like pulls in like ahead of the Hummer over here, and I'm like, oh no, it's a news truck. And they get out, and there's a guy with, like, the shoulder camera, and I'm like, they're going to get footage of us. Okay, this is weird, because, like, I work at a news station.
Yeah, it's weird for them to come to a con and take pictures.
Well, yeah, I mean, we were obviously just there, but, yeah, then it was a Fox truck, and, I work for CBS, so it was like, oh, they're rivals. But
that's
then
when
they
he
started,
murdered one of them.
Yeah, they started interviewing Robert, right here, and... well, yeah, this is us.
Oh, that's flattering. Thanks, Fly.
You're welcome. It gets better.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does. How's your belly doing?
I'm gonna kill you.
Like,
you're gonna get murdered. Like,
right?
You'll be on the news again.
It's probably gonna happen.
It's true. So yeah, they were interviewing Robert, who immediately switched into his radio voice, which. I turned to his son and I was like, "Your dad just switched into a radio voice." He's like, "He does that." It's kind of funny. But then I noticed like he was holding up the microphone for him, and then the little thing that sits on there is called a mic flag. And it has like the station logo or whatever. And I noticed it said CBS 7, and I was like, "Okay, so are they Fox or are they CBS?" And afterwards, they were about to say goodbye. I'm like, "Are you guys Fox or CBS?" And the guy's like, "We're both." Like, "Oh, I'm from CBS 58 in Milwaukee." And he's like, "Really? I used to work for Fox 6. So it was like this weird thing, and he told me to say hi to Eric, which I said, "Okay, Eric Levy," and I was like, maybe he meant a different Eric, because there were multiple Erics at our station, so I actually didn't want to like go, "Hey, Jake says hello," and be like, "Who? I don't know a Jake."
So instead you killed him.
What are you... Did you turn into Dale for a second?
Yeah, well, I mean, when the man's on track, he's on track.
Okay. So, yeah, that was kind of interesting. But all in all, how would you rate it against previous Gen Cons, Dale, that you've been to?
6 out of 10. Listen, they lost a lot of points because it used to really be about everyone demoing their game. And then there was, like, you demo games, and when you got enough demos on a punch card, you would get a bunch of free stuff. Like, really good free stuff. I'm talking, like...
Well, you got a player's handbook, right? Or the Dungeon Master?
Yes. So, for 3.5 Dungeons & Dragons, I got the second Dungeon Master handbook. Really, it didn't help me with anything, but it's got a lot of cool stuff in there if you wanted to use it and everything. That's something you could have got in previous years. Now, it's like, it's just, come buy our game, we'll demo 30 seconds of it, and then we're done. And I'm like, I understand it's a lot of people you want to get through, but I should also say that I didn't get to do a lot of the biggest attractions either. For instance, they have True Dungeon there, which always fills up, like, fucking instantly. Which is something I really want to do, because it's like a live-action dungeon you go in. I think you get to murder someone. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
And of course they have tournaments there and everything, but I mean, the only tournament I ever played there was the D&D tournament.
Which I actually would have been on board with, because I'm used to playing in a group with you, so it would have been like, "Oh, well, I'm just playing with Dale, because I know how he works, so I can try to complement that." So you would kind of equate it to the de-evolution of Cracker Jack?
Yeah, a bit, yeah.
Everybody, it's still, like, probably, I can't say, like...
I still recommend going to the con if you like board games. Definitely.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying, like, that's the Cracker Jack, like, the actual, popcorn treat. But the prize in there, which would have been, like, the free swag, used to be great, and now it's like, you get a little cardboard thing that turns into a face of Abraham Lincoln. And it's got some facts on the back, and you're like, you have to get, like, cool little buzzers and stuff.
Yeah.
So
you get a shank.
Yeah. Okay. Complete the cardboard shank, and then your final objective is to complete the murder.
Exactly.
Now don't forget to wipe your fingerprints clean and throw away the murder weapon.
But I do think 2 things. The greatest highlight of the con was 2 things. 1 was Captain Sonar, and 2 was meeting Nadine.
Why don't we talk about Captain Sonar first, because I think we can complete that pretty quick, and it's still relevant to board games. Then we'll talk about Nadine.
So Captain Sonar is about being a superhero underwater.
Named Captain Sonar.
Exactly. No, Private First Class. Fuck you.
Oh, okay.
No. So the Captain Sonar is a 4-on-4 game where it's the future. You're after oil and mineral rights and everything. Corporations battling each other.
It's all turned into private companies.
Sub versus sub, basically. So we were a meatball sub, and they were like a bologna on rye sub, going after each other.
You know.
Yes. But it was pretty cool. You have 4 classes. You have the captain, you have the first mate, you have the engineer, and you have the sonar operator. The captain decides when to fire, where to fire, and where to drive the sub, kind of a thing, and when to surface. The first mate decides on what systems to charge, because they need to charge before you can use them. And that includes a mine, torpedo, sonar, drone, and silent running. The engineer decides, as the ship moves, stuff starts to break down, and the engineer decides what stuff he wants to, quote-unquote, break down, which really should probably be what he decides to prioritize to repair.
So there are four columns, and there's one for north, south, east, and west, and then there's auxiliary systems on the bottom. And basically, if you move north, you have to sacrifice one system, and if you check that off, then that whole system goes offline until you either surface or you complete a circuit. And the circuit spans over multiple directions. So it's like, Captain, we could go west and I could complete a circuit, and then weapon systems will be online. So that's where the complication comes in that Dale was talking about for being the engineer, because you have to kind of coordinate with the captain. And we didn't do that at first, and it was I think we took 1 hit from indirect damage. Why don't you talk about that?
Okay. So, anyways, the sonar operator listens to what the enemy captain is saying on what directions to go, and they're trying to figure out, based on the map they have, where they are, because you can't go into the islands, so it kind of gives you a kind of sort of path on how it plays. So, at one point, I launched the sonar, and we knew they were in this one area, and we needed to repair, so I surfaced, because I knew they would come directly at us, because I told them, when you surface, you have to tell them in what sector you're in. So I started to try to play ring around this one island until they fired, which they did, and got an indirect hit on us, which we were playing one direct hit or 2 indirect hits kill you. So we knew where it was, and with that, I looked down our sonar sheet, and I knew they could only be in between the islands, and that's where I fired a direct hit shot. So it was really kind of a cool, intense thing, because it's all rapid, it's all real time. It's not, the only time you stop is when you're firing or using an ability. So, I could shout out, as long as the whole team commits to the 5 commands that I gave out, we can commit them, we can do them in 1 minute, where they might take 5 minutes to do 1 command. So it's just, it's really fast paced, and I thought it was going to be a lot more chaotic and stupid, but it was really fun kind of a thing.
Yeah, if you start communicating efficiently, that's the best way I could say it, is efficient communication. Because if everybody's talking at once, then nothing's going to get done. But if the captain gives commands and you give brief feedback to that command. Like I was saying, Captain, we could go west, and I could complete a circuit, and then weapon systems will be online. That's relatively brief, rather than, I don't know, me yelling at the first mate, and then the radar person's like, blah, blah, blah. They might be over here, and the captain's like, blah.
I had an iPhone game that was kind of like that, where if you had the app and a couple other people had the app, it showed different things on their screens, and you had to...
spaceship game?
Yeah.
We made that correlation, actually. I know the game you're talking about, and none of us could remember what it was called.
What was it called? It was
Contagion.
Contagion. But, yeah, each person had to complete little tasks. They had to, wiggle the phone or trace a thing, right?
Oh,
and then if they failed, pieces started falling off, and you're going through hyperspace and all that stuff.
Oh, gotcha.
Screw different panels on.
Gotcha. I know what you're talking about, but no, I never played the game, and I don't. No,
but I can see, again, we made that correlation too within our group, and none of us could remember what it was called. But yeah, it was a fun game. It was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be, because I was going to play first mate at first, And the guy was like, you should probably switch, because there was a little kid who was going to be engineer. And he was like, engineer is a bit more complicated. First mate's pretty easy, especially for this instance. So
First mate is definitely like the beginner class kind of a thing.
But you did pretty well communicating with that kid. So.
Well, basically, I'm like, all right, you charge this, then this, then this, then this, then that. And I was like, just follow that order. I don't care. And once it happened, it worked well.
So, yeah, definitely one of the underrated highlights that I would say in terms of games. That and Bloodborne, I think, were my favorite games that I played throughout that weekend.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm sure there's other great games, but those are the only ones we really
It's just there's so many games out there that it's hard to gauge.
Well, and like I said, I wanted to try Dark Souls, but at the same time, I don't want to ruin Dark Souls 3 for you.
Yeah, Dark Souls is just like this sacred thing that people don't want you to look at guides at all because they want you to kind of...
Well, because a lot of it, there is a lot of, like, not jump scares, but, like, tricks and surprises, and if you find out, then you're all like, oh, that's what that is.
It's the magic of discovering something naturally on your own.
And there's also, like, dark areas. If you're not paying attention, you're around a corner, you're like, oh, God, what the hell is that?
Yeah, so I had fun. It was a good first Gen Con. Was there any more you wanted to talk about with Captain Sonar?
No.
Okay.
That's...
I would recommend it if you've got like a group of 8 friends and you like party games and you like yelling at each other and like proper communication. I would recommend picking it up.
Yeah, the only other game we played was Time Stories.
Which member of the Suicide Squad is Captain Sonar again?
Yeah, he's the one who throws radar beams.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they loop back around to him and he catches them.
Yeah, and then he knows all the information.
It's basically like a Batman.
Some sort of Batman.
Yeah. We'll call him Man-Bat.
Yes.
We'll call him Flying Mouse. Alright. So Time Stories was pretty good, but I wouldn't recommend anyone buying it, though.
I feel like if the demo was maybe like 10 minutes longer...
but what he said in the beginning was what turned me off immediately.
Oh, it's like a 4-hour game.
It's a 4-hour game, but it's the exact same game every time you play. Well, the ending is. It's just a matter of getting to the ending. But it's the exact same, it's the exact same story every time.
Nick, if I could, it's basically like the current arc of Adventure Zone. That was what Time Stories basically was.
Okay.
You're going through, and every loop you do, you discover more information, exploit that, and get back to whatever point. So chronologically, it's like Groundhog Day, which I know is what they're trying to parody with the current.
It's working for Adventure Zone.
Oh yeah, his most recent one was really good. But anyway, I don't want to talk about that because Dale's still listening to it. So so why don't we talk about Nadine? Because
okay. Do you want to start pulling up pictures while we talk about her?
Sure. You sent me the Facebook thing. So why don't you talk? I'll pull up some of those reference pictures.
Okay. So Robert found us, and he's like, "There's a fan that wants to really meet you."
Kim found us.
Kim. Oh yeah. Well, Robert sent us a message saying someone wants to meet us, and Kim found us and brought us to Robert, and Robert brought us to Nadine, which is funny because we were by that booth 2 or 3 times, but we just didn't go in that little area.
I'm a fan of Wayne Reynolds' work, and he basically does like all of the Pathfinder art. And he was over by that area, and I was like, oh, I'd like to talk to him at some point, but he had like a giant group around him. So yeah, we kind of, and then I was looking at like different figures and stuff like that, and they had a lot of good ones. So. Continue talking.
Okay. So anyways, it turns out she's not like the hardcore fangirl, but pretty good fangirl of Bly and everything, because she tried to hide under a table when we first met her and everything. She actually
Most people do that when they meet Kevin.
Like corgis.
I was just going to say, most of them are corgis.
That dog. I don't understand.
That dog thinks you're from the Stranger Things. It thinks you came from the Upside Down place. Because it freaked out just as much as when that thing appeared in the show when we were watching it. It fucking flipped the shit out because it's like, oh my god, there's 2 Bly's! There's 2 of them!
Kevin, you have to tell us if you're a Demogorgon. Otherwise, it's entrapment.
We can talk about this later.
Oh.
Also,
Okay.
watch Stranger Things. It's really good.
Oh, it's so good.
It is. We watched the whole while we were at Gen Con, when we stayed over at our friend's house from Cosplay for Us All. We stayed at their house and we watched the whole season, and it was amazing. Definitely, you should watch.
You want to talk about your favorite character, Dale?
My favorite
Man.
character was Sheriff Punches You. All right.
Sheriff One Punch.
Yeah. He basically started not being able to knock out people by punching them, and got progressively better at it as the series went on. As that
Practice
season
makes
went.
perfect.
It does. He was the driving force in the season. He was my favorite character. I won't say if he lived or died though, because there's definitely a lot of will they live or die? No one knows. All right. So, anyways. Nadine is the director for art for The Dark Eye.
And I will put it over to me. And
Which is
share.
basically the German equivalent of Dungeons and Dragons.
Ooh.
So that is, to be honest, I think that's her favorite picture because that's the one she keeps showing us whenever we talk to her. It's her Frostworm. So she is a great artist. All right, now find the pug.
I got that one last, so
Okay, gotcha.
I'm gonna get through the serious art first.
No,
I like that.
That's not how this works. Yeah, so she drew all of this. Like I specifically
there's a
talked
lot
to
of
her.
cool stuff going on.
Look, they have sound pounce a lot. They have drunken dwarves and a guy who's reading a book in a tavern. I'm sure he can really concentrate.
Yeah, that's basically.
Especially with that
Barrett,
fucking
right?
guy with the loot behind him. Or back there. Fucking turn it down!
I'm trying to read here.
Yeah, what do you think this is?
Tavern.
A festival?
So
So she loves to draw dragons. That is her favorite thing, to draw in her comfort zone, she says.
yeah, dragons and like creatures in general. She draws a lot of creatures.
Yes.
Which
Ooh,
Honestly, I think this is my favorite picture.
Yeah,
that she
that's great. What is that?
it's like a phoenixy griffin demon bird, like raven thing.
It's just
I don't know. I'm sure it's like it got an actual creature name, but like I'm just going off in descriptions. But
well, yeah. It's
yeah, I mean
so
it's
the Dark Eye is basically their D&D. It's the most popular thing over there.
so like I said, creatures.
It's my favorite. It's a chalupa.
It's a chihuahua and a potu bird.
It's down
and
there in the corner.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you've never seen potu birds, they are ridiculous. They have like these enormous heads and like very expressive faces.
I don't know why the bird took some frog eyes and put them on himself, but
It doesn't even look like a real thing. That
I
looks
know,
like the internet invented a bird.
Yeah.
It does. It's like a lol bird.
oh my god, that thing's terrifying in the upper right. Upper right. What the fuck is that? I do not want to see that thing in real life.
So
looks like
anyway,
Gollum or something.
right.
That came from the upside down world.
So it's like
It's fucking hilarious and great. It really is. She was doing a daily challenge to make griffins, which really I think for us basically they should be called chimeras because it's a combination of other creatures.
A chimera creature is like an amalgam. So
Yes.
But they all had like wings, so it was technically they're griffins as well, because griffins are like lions and birds.
And cows, oh my.
So, but I mean, technically griffins are kind of chimeric creatures, but probably for to prevent confusion, they don't call them chimeras because a chimera is an actual creature in D&D. Anyway, it's semantics.
So yeah. So we got to meet her. She's a big fan of Bly.
I'd say she's a big fan of Dragon Age. I don't know if she knew who I was beforehand. It was just like, oh, there's a guy cosplaying as Alistair.
She knew you as the guy who cosplays Alistair, though.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
Yeah. That was the big thing. So she wants Bly to give her his portfolio so he can come and work in Germany.
You realize, Ben, you have to ship us all the German foods.
Right. Wow.
Okay. Why don't I just, like, cook you the German foods?
Okay.
Yeah, or that.
Okay. I was expecting more resistance than just, okay.
But she actually...
Give me some food.
She also is heading up the Artist Alley for their company's convention. Because she's obviously the art director and everything there. So it sounds like she's got a big task and everything. So it was actually pretty cool. I think she only comes to the U.S. for Gen Con because it's such a big convention and everything.
How many years has she been going to Gen Con? That was one question I actually didn't ask, I don't think.
Between 1 and 20, I think.
Oh, okay, so somewhere in there.
I'm assuming it's been a few at least because she understands what Gen Con is and has been around and everything.
Do you want to talk about your artistic influence, Dale?
Oh, yes. So I have a very specific way of looking at things, and it usually wrecks other people's mind and thought processes when that happens. She was drawing... The thing was, she was drawing like a small white-haired child, maybe young adult woman, as an illusionist putting together a swan, and I saw it as this woman stealing the swan's soul. Why is it doing this? And she's like, what? And I'm like, it's stealing its soul. Look at it. So she's like, huh. And so she started drawing little red eyes on the girl, and I'm like, yes. And then she drew like the stereotypical angry eyebrows, where it was like,
they were like crazy angry Dragon Ball Z eyebrows when
Yeah.
they're going into an exaggerated rage. It's just like, "Brr."
It's not exaggerated. The rage is real, Bly.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean. Like they kind of exaggerate the features a little bit more to make them even more angry looking.
And then I'm like, you know what? It needs a tongue. So she drew a forked tongue on there, and I'm like, yep, this is the demon creature. Once you kill its familiar, its true form comes out. So she saved it as like a level,
A new layer.
a layout, a layer. Okay.
Layer.
So hopefully we will see that in one of the books come later on.
With a small credit to you, so you can be like, I had influence in this.
I just like putting my own little spin on things. So it doesn't matter if I'm not credited or not. It just would be cool. Or she could just send us free product, and then we'd play the game, is all I'm saying.
There you go. You have to learn German first.
Be nice to Nadine. She was awesome.
Yeah. No, they do
You-
actually
you
do
talked-
it I did ask that.
She talked at length about like her, just art in general, and it was cool. Like, what do you like to draw? And then if she's Gaius Angel on DeviantArt and Tumblr, I believe.
Well, I will put the link.
Yeah.
up
So
on
that was just me being able to like say, hey, look, there's a link on the bottom. But I'd recommend checking her stuff out, giving her a follow. She's really good. I don't know. I see artists like that, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I wish I was better, a little bit more practice.
Mm-hmm.
But was there any more you wanted to say about Nadine? Because I mean, I've got some art I can show that I actually picked up from the con.
I would like to see the art.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
Try.
I've run into William O'Connor before. You can kind of see some of his stuff on my wall back there. I'm gonna try to do that gingerly. So I'm not gonna pull my camera off of there, but this one hanging up by the Iron Man arm is the Artificer. It's in Complete Arcane, was it, Dale? Or Complete Mage?
I think Complete Mage.
Okay, I think they use wands and stuff like that. So she's got like a big old thing of wands. It's cool. I like his art. And he recently came out with like this really cool thing, but he didn't have any he does all of his stuff traditionally. It's not digital, to my knowledge. So he has to photograph it and clean it up and then do it. But it was like incredible. I'll throw a picture on the screen for I think it was I can't remember the name of the art, but it was like a Joan of Arc piece, I think. And he looked into like the historical research for he had a bunch of banners and like battle standards in the background, and those were like all historically accurate to that time period for that specific battle. And it was like, wow, you did your research on this, man. That was really good. So I want to get that on my wall eventually.
Or he just tells people that and hopes no one's double checks his facts.
Maybe. But I've run into him at C2E2 before and picked up work every time I see him. But this is the new one. It's called Fire and Water. It's, if I can get it so it's not reflecting.
There's fire and water in the picture.
Yeah, there's like an archer on a boat, and there's a dragon in the background. So
nice.
It's kind of cool. And then Nick, before I left for the con, he said if there's any Overwatch art, let me know. And there was, I'm trying to remember the name of the artist, but I can't off the top of my head. But she was there, and she had a Diva print hanging up. So I picked this one up for Nick.
Time to raise my APM.
Yes. So it's like reflecting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would also like to do a little shout out to Crystal Graciano because, speaking of Overwatch art, I picked this up from her story on V, and it is a really good Mercy print.
That's not Mercy.
Sure is.
Yeah, if you like Overwatch, or she does a lot of Fallout art, I'd recommend giving her a check. She's also a really good cosplayer. But yeah, go buy some art from Crystal. She's a really nice person and a really good artist. So.
Gotcha.
Other than that, did you want to talk about anything else from Gen Con, Dale?
No, I think that pretty much covered it. I mean, if anyone has any more questions, they can always email us about it.
It's true. Yeah, especially like if you have any games you tested out and you really liked that we didn't mention, I'd actually like to hear about that because we're always kind of like they're like off weeks for D&D. We do like every other week, and sometimes somebody has to cancel, and then we're like, well, we all made plans, or we all like freed up this day, and now we have nothing to do, so we still want to get together. That's when we'll bust out like a tabletop game, not Dungeons and Dragons related, so like board games. That's like the perfect time to do that. So I would like to hear any suggestions. I did have a bad thing happen though on Saturday when we were cosplaying. Yeah. So I knew if anything was going to happen, it was going to be at this specific point. So with my new armor, it's all made out of this material called Sintra, which is a PVC foam, and right here is there's a thing called a Chicago screw or a post screw, and it's basically, I don't really have an example on hand, but it's like you have like a rivet and then a post that has a threaded like female end, and then there's a screw on the other side. And then a lot of people use it for like Iron Man elbows so that they can bend and stuff like that. I used it for here because the shoulder straps have to look specific. But if you look on this shoulder, you'll see a specific thing, and that's because the Sintra is thin right here to like a point. So yeah, this part snapped when I was wearing it. So it's I got to fix that up before Dragon Con at the end of the month. But I did. That made me realize that I should probably talk about Sintra a little bit. That end, I got questions from like 3 different people over the past week.
Because if we don't talk to your kids about Sintra, who will?
Yeah, who will? I got several questions from people asking like, "Oh, what tell me about Sintra. I want to use it, but I don't know anything about it." And I used to be that way. And the first thing I can tell you about Sintra, no, I'll just talk about it. So people are probably familiar with PVC pipes. They're you go into Home Depot and there's that whole section. Especially if you're a cosplayer, you've probably been down that aisle before. Like if you had to make a prop gun or something like that, this is basically a barrel. Sintra is the same material. It's just when they put this into whatever mold where they pour their mixture into that's going to cure it. They also inject air, which is what makes it a foam. I believe that's how the process goes. So there are different thicknesses depending on how much air they inject, and you can get different thicknesses, different densities. So this is relatively pliable Sintra, and then it's like the same thickness as this stuff. You can also get it in different colors, but this one is quite a bit more rigid than the other stuff. It's not as flexible, even though it still flexes. That's just because it's thin. This stuff is about twice as thick as that other stuff, and it's a lot harder to bend. Especially on like smaller scales like this. I think this one might actually be even thicker than this. But the best suggestion I can give you to where to find this stuff, because I think you can get it on Amazon, but it's pretty expensive, is to look into plastics companies near you. Because I actually started doing some research into it, and I visited one place. Nick, I think you went with me that one day.
Yeah, it was closed though.
Yeah, I went back to that same place a couple days later, and they were like, "We only do." You'll get a lot of companies that do just like bulk sales to like other companies. But she did say that she gave me the address to a different place that had a show floor, and what places like that will do is they'll have like a bunch of scraps that they couldn't use, and they'll just sell it to whoever's willing to pay for it. So I can get Sintra for like $1 a pound at this place, which is way cheaper than Amazon. And I love Amazon, and they have a lot of good deals. But this is something to just find a place, find a retailer. You can also get acrylic. So say you're making a Mercy costume, and she has the wing things, which you can make out of Sintra, or this is styrene. It's similar. It's a lot denser though. Like I'm putting pressure on it. It's a lot harder. So the belt buckle I have on that costume is made out of this stuff because I was worried it was going to break or snap because I've got two large leather pieces pulling on it and putting tension on it with my bulky body. So you can see I drew out a second one just in case I ruined the first one. I'm probably going to, if I redo the shoulder straps, I'm going to make it out of styrene because it's a lot more rugged and durable than Sintra is. You could make the base wings out of that, and then she has little glow bits that come out of there. You could make that out of acrylic, which is that transparent stuff that you'll see. I don't know what's a good thing that uses acrylic. My computer, I can't really point it at it, but my computer has a little acrylic window, or it's probably plexiglass, but you'll get they sell sheets like that. They probably sell plexiglass too. You can get that. You can get ABS plastic, which is a completely different kind of plastic. Just go find a plastics retailer. Just walk around, touch the stuff, look at it, ask questions. The people there, know a thing or two. So that would be my first tip to getting into Sintra. Once you determine it. Other than that, it functions a lot like EVA foam, and I'm actually going to show you. If you've ever used EVA foam before, you probably know what this is. It's a heat gun. It's like a hair dryer on steroids. What you can actually do.
It's the Olympic hair dryer.
It's an Olympic hair dryer, yeah. What you can do is you can evenly go over this stuff. Do not burn it. If you burn it, this releases chlorine gas, which is highly toxic.
Throw it in your pool. It'll help clean it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You just shock it. So just heat it up evenly like you would EVA foam. And what this does is it just kind of weakens the cellular structure to make it more pliable. And that allows you to get, bends or curves, or you could put it over the edge of a table or something like that and get a really sharp bend. If you got something maybe a little bit more space age. Let me see, and I mean this stuff gets hot, but as you can see, you can bend it into a certain shape, and then I blow on it. You can actually, like, if you get a little water basin, you can dip it in there, like cool water.
Who
And
has a
it'll, like,
water basin? What is this?
Blacksmith.
if you have a bowl of water, you can dip it in there.
There you
like,
go.
cool water. But then you can get like nice curves in there and stuff like that. So and then I'm like putting tension on this, so it's like that's how it's staying. So I mean there are a lot of possibilities. The one of the big appeals over EVA foam for me, and the reason I wanted to go with Sintra for this, is because this Griffin, like this Griffin is entirely Sintra, the same material that this is. I wanted to make sure, like, you know, it all looked the same. The light hit it the same, because in the game it's the same material. But yeah, you can. It holds an edge really well in terms of detail. Like, I wouldn't recommend making a knife out of this stuff, but I mean, you can make a prop knife. But the detail holds up really nice. This Griffin didn't really get scuffed up too much. There's a little bit of like stuff here, but yeah, the downside is that it can snap. But the plus side is that you can super glue it back together. So I may try super gluing that shoulder piece back together and seeing how that goes. But yeah, if you can find like a decent plastics retailer near you, manufacturer near you, that does floor sales, go check it out. Get some plastic and test it out. I mean, if it's $1 a pound, you know, what's like $2 to test out some plastic? You might find something new. To cut it, which was another question I got, just use the same stuff you would use to cut EVA foam with. Get a sharpener, make sure this is nice and sharp. The key difference there is to do, I'm not really going to test this out because I don't have my cutting mat with me, it's back there, is to do several, like, if you want like nice clean lines, get like a metal ruler, and then just do like a nice even stroke through, and then just once that channel's been set, then you can go a little bit with more pressure. And separate it, and that's basically the way I do it. And then you can use a rotary tool like you would use for EVA foam, or a Dremel, to clean up those edges and round it off. That's what I did with all of my armor. Is, you know, I just took a Dremel to this edge to make it nice and smooth, and then or rounded, and then I took sandpaper and smoothed it out. This is all attached with super glue, or cyanoacrylate, if you will. I get mine from Hobbytown. I got the big, like, 4-ounce bottles, because I'm going to be making a whole costume with it. I may as well get the big stuff. And then you can get this stuff, which is like an Insta-Set. You spray it and it immediately cures. So that's how I attach, like, the Griffin, and I mean, that's not coming off. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's worth giving a test for if you need like a bit of a sharper look to your edges, because EVA foam, that's its big thing, is since it's more porous and light and flexes more, you can't get as much of an edge with it, even if it is. I think it's probably cheaper to use EVA foam, but I don't know. It's just different materials. Depends what you're going for. And then finally, to paint it, I would take sandpaper to all of the surfaces to just give it like a general, like, something for the paint to stick to. I'll always prime it. You can probably use Krylon Fusion. That's got like a paint primer, but I'd prime it just to make sure that you get maximum adhesion, and then just paint it like you would anything else. That's about it on Sintra. So. You guys have never worked with Sintra before. Dale, I made you a Sintra breastplate for Varick.
Yep, you did.
How has that, like, been working for you?
I've only really worn it a few times, so yeah. Pretty well, though. I mean, no one shot me yet, so.
But it's not like heavy or anything.
Mm-hmm. No, it just covers the last piece of heat dissipation that I have on my body.
Have you worn EVA foam stuff before?
Well, I don't think so.
Okay. Because I know, like, this is all EVA foam, and that's, I mean, all the metal bits on there are Sintra. All the leather bits are EVA foam. I feel like EVA foam it holds more heat than Sintra does. Sintra being like a denser plastic, it tends to be a little bit more on the cool side. Not by much. Like if you have layers of stuff and you're in a costume, you're going to be probably pretty warm regardless in the summer. So, but if that's a concern, Sintra might be a decent alternative for you. But that's what I found. Like EVA foam is pretty good at simulating leather. Sintra is pretty good at simulating metal. But one of the drawbacks to Sintra is that it scratches pretty easily. But fortunately, if it's like silver, you can just get like a silver. If you can get a silver Sharpie, you can just hit those edges.
Okay. We're kind of running late on time here.
Okay. Well, why don't we wrap it up? Any final thoughts, guys?
We'll reveal what we want to reveal next time.
Yep.
Oh.
All will be revealed.
Because you decided to talk for 30 minutes about Sintra.
Sorry, I wanted to talk about it. People were asking about it.
Yeah, we noticed.
So we're all soldiers now. Nick, why don't you take us out?
Later, chumps.